Alright guys, so welcome back to this tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to look at the second half of editing, which is editing on a grid. So we have what I recorded the last time, or edited the last time. One, two, three, four. Okay, so this time we want to edit on the grid. So down here again we can see that the grid is off from the last time, but I'm going to turn it back on now by right clicking and picking a grid, or using Command and 4. Now what you might notice with the grid is that when you zoom in, the grid gets smaller. 1/32, 1/128, and if I zoom out, the grid gets larger. Okay, so you can do that. You can change the size of the grid to your preference by right clicking here and picking a set grid, such as quarter note, or using Control or Command 1 and 2. So Control 1 makes the grid smaller, Control 2 makes the grid larger. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the grid with Control 4 or Command 4 if you're on a Mac. And I'm going to edit these again so as they're in a bit. So I'm just zooming in really quick. Control E, Command E, zoom in, Control E or Command E. And then the last one. Zoom in. Now you can see that the F4, there's a little bit of a lead in. 4. Okay, so let's just edit that. Excellent. And I'm going to, again, just trim them back, okay? Trim them. There we go. Now I'm going to change the speed of this track. And if I double click the clip, we can see that all of these clips are warped. And what that means is that if I change the speed, these will also change in speed. So let me just show you. 3. It doesn't really like that. 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select them and turn them off. If you select them all, you can turn them off all at the same time. But you can just select them individually. Turn off the warp on them all. All right, and then it won't time stretch them if I'm changing the tempo. I'll put my tempo back to 120 beats per minute. Here we go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and line these up on the grid. So I'm going to turn my grid back on, Command 4 or Control 4. And now when I drop these, it'll force it to go onto the grid. So now they're on the grid like that. Let's have a listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now they are on the grid, but you may notice that there's a bit of an issue there with 3 and 4, in that there's a lead in to 3 and 4. All right, and so we need to kind of, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like they're in time. 1, 2, 3, 4. It sounds like they're late. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on 2. And I can differentiate from the waveform the noise from the vowel. So this is the consonant, the th part of the T, and this is the E part. And we can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the grid, Command or Control 4, and I'm going to try and line up the OR part, the E part, with the grid. So we can see that this is beat 2, and now beat 2 is going to go E. All right. I'm going to do the same with beat 4. So we can see that this part here is the fo, and this part is the or. I can just visually tell what I'm looking at now when I look at waveforms. So I'm just going to try and manually line them up. We have to do it by eyeball. And let's go back to the start now, and let's listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we could hear that that's a lot better. That sounds like it's in time now. Okay. I'm going to turn back on my grid. I'm going to select from bar 3 to bar 1, like that, like this. Select them all. So I'm clicking and dragging to make a selection. And I'm selecting all of this, and I'm going to go Command and J. And it will join together everything that's highlighted blue. So it'll create a full proper bar. 2 bars actually. Command or Control and J to join. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's good. Now for the adventurous, if we duplicate it, Command and D, or Control and D, or you can right click and use the menus, but you remember my advice? Just use them as an aid to memory. Don't actually click them. Just kind of go, oh yeah, it's that one. That's how you get quicker. And then what I'll do is I'll make a selection, duplicate it. So these are 8th note doubles. Now this is going to be harder with 3 because you remember the little part at the start of 3. So it's just going to be harder to do. So I'll turn off my grid, pull it back. And for those of you that are very interested, if I zoom in, you can see there's a little crossfade made. And if I go into the center of the crossfade, I can actually move it around a little bit. Move the crossfade about to try and get a nice smooth transition. So now we should hear 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Let's have a listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. All right. Let's see if you can do that. Select it all. Go Command or Control J. And we get it again. And then we can render it. Can you remember the shortcut to render? What is it, do you think? To render it, what you want to do is you want to select the clip or the area around which you want it to render. You can use it with these as well. That'll select the area that's going to output. So Ableton, when I render now, will render everything from bar 1 to bar 7. I don't really want that. So I'm going to select the clip and go Command and L. It'll automatically move my left and right braces so as they highlight the size of the clip that I'm working on. And then I can render. Can you remember the shortcut? There's my one. So I'm not going to click on it. Instead, I'm going to go Command, Alt, or, and I got the wrong one because that's what it is in Reaper, Command Shift or. So it's probably Control Shift or for me. And you can choose whether you want a WAV, an MP3, or both. So I'll export an MP3. We can see if we look, it's exporting from bar 1 to bar 4. So 1, 2, 3. It's starting at bar 1 and it's exporting 4 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I would call this edited 1, 2, 3, 4 Ken grid, something like that. And we'd render it out and it'll go to the desktop. So that's the next thing that I want you to try with editing on the grid. But be careful with the 3 and the 4 because they're tricky. Okay guys, that's it for this video. Hope it was of some use. Bye now.